What's up, my peeps? It's Cynthia, aka C Flow, and welcome to my channel. Today, we're going to review Real Housewives of Atlanta. It is season 14, episode 6. Don't be sea salty. That's the name of it, the episode. So we start with Sheree. It's 4 days after her Philly trip, where, if you recall, Tyrone stood her up, like ghosted her. And she was sitting at the restaurant outside, looking cute, but sad and crying. It was pretty sad to see that. So she and her daughter walks in while Sheree's trying to fold clothes, and she talks about how she hasn't left the house in 4 days. And basically that she's a little embarrassed about what happened because there's pictures out there in social media of her crying and looking sad. And she basically says that Tyrone didn't call her until the next day and was acting as if nothing happened, to which she told him, "I'll call you back." She hasn't called him back yet. She says he's been texting, he's been calling, and she's not ready to talk to him yet. So, her daughter's like, well, where's your headspace, basically? And Sheree was saying that she's not sure she's ready to let it go yet. And I'm like, girl, I think it's time to let it go because he showed you who he is, right? So her daughter states, well, if you do decide to give him another chance, he just better come correct. And I agree. If you gonna give him another chance, he better come correct. Next we have Kenya and Drew. They meet up at a restaurant and they discuss the New York trip. Kenya asks how she was feeling about the trip because she saw some things, which I'm sure that means the interaction between Drew and her husband. And she also told Drew, I want to make sure that you don't feel like I overstepped my bounds, to which Drew was like, hey, I'm glad you stood up for me. I need to do that more, which she does. She doesn't stand up for her husband. And in Kenya's confessional, she basically says that she wishes her and Drew had a friendship like this last year because they have a lot in common. And then Kenya says that she thought this was going to be a girls' trip, but of course production is shady, and they go back and show a flashback where I think Kenya asked, is this a girls' trip? And Candy said, well, if you want to bring your man, you can. And then Kenya says, I think I may be able to bring a date. So clearly she knew, maybe she forgot, I don't know. But I thought that was funny of the production to do that. Let's see. Kenya also brings up Sanya's Mommy Nation photo shoot that she was invited to the next day. And Drew was like, yeah, she invited me and then she uninvited me. So they kind of talked about that a little bit, about why did she do that? And Drew's like, I don't know, kind of thing. And then lastly, which I thought was hilarious, Drew says, Kenya, before you go, can you unblock me on Instagram? And Kenya's like, I got you blocked. Like she didn't know she had her blocked. So she was attempting to unblock her and said she needed some help. So I thought that was cute. Then we move on to Sanya's photo shoot, to where Candy shows up, and Sanya kind of explains that Mommy Nation was a blog that she started for Black females, and particularly Black mommies, because when she got pregnant, she felt like she needed basically a village or community to kind of talk through what, how life is when you're a new mom. And so she started that blog, and now she has like a clothing line for Mommy Nation. And she invited Candy. Initially, she invited Drew, but then instead of Drew, she invited Kenya to do the photo shoot. Kenya shows up and didn't realize that she was going to be part of the photo shoot. And Sanya was like, oh, I thought I told you. But Kenya is hilarious. I like Kenya. A lot of people don't like Kenya. She does seem softer this season, but I like her. I think she's beautiful, and I think she's funny. She is shady. She can be mean, but I still like her. That's just me. So she was basically saying that she's going to have to talk to her agent about this photo shoot. But I was very surprised and pleased that she went through with the photo shoot. What was funny and shady in Candy's confessional, she basically said that Kenya don't do nothing that doesn't pay, basically, or that doesn't give her a check. But Kenya decided to go ahead and do the photo shoot, which I thought was really cool. And then after the photo shoot, Candy asked the question to Sanya, why did you choose me and Kenya? And Sanya went through the whole thing about, well, I felt like I bonded with you guys at the during the New York trip. And they brought up the Drew situation. I believe that's what happened. They brought up the Drew situation. Oh, no, Kenya was saying, well, do you feel like other people will be hurt that you didn't invite them? And Sanya was basically saying the only person that probably will feel that way or hurt would be Drew. And but she says she's inviting everyone to a Jamaican dinner. I think it was like a cook-off. And that she was going to talk to Drew about that then. So that's how she addressed that. I crack up when Candy is honest. I kind of like Candy this season. Usually she's kind of boring, but she's in her confessionals, she's been kind of shady, which I like. And she said that she told Sanya, I just want to see your house, which I thought that was like honest. I mean, she being honest, but then Sanya tells her, no, you guys won't be in my house because I ordered furniture and it keeps getting pushed back, and the furniture hasn't arrived yet. And I'm not inviting y'all to my house without no furniture, which I understand that. So she said they were going to have this cook-off at a different location. Then Kenya brings up Sheree and how Sheree went to Philly and how Tyrone stood her up and how she felt really bad for her, and that her and Marlo are planning a little party to cheer Kenya up, which I thought was pretty cool. Let's see. Next, we go to Sheree's cheer up event, where Marlo has her Fendi connection, their personal salesperson, bring up a whole bunch of Fendi items so that Sheree can shop, I guess. And she and Kenya was going to have a whole bunch of food catered and desserts and all that stuff. And then Kenya was responsible for bringing the desserts. Also a massage therapist they were bringing in. And so as Marlo prepares, she sees that Kenya's not there. So she FaceTimed Kenya, and Kenya answers the phone laying in bed, sounding pitiful, which she said that she wasn't feeling well, that she was going to go, but then she started feeling kind of faint or woozy or something like that. And then she decided that she's not feeling well, and then she's not going to come to the Sheree cheer up event. To which Marlo, you could tell she was not cool with that and didn't believe Kenya when she said she was sick because her face was beat to the gods. But I believe that Kenya wasn't feeling well. I didn't get the impression that she was lying about that. But she did tell Marlo that she's sending Drew with the stuff that she was supposed to bring. And that's pretty much it. And then they moved to Sanya and her mom, where they are shopping for this Jamaican cook-off. They're deciding what it is they're going to cook. Sanya tells her mom about Drew saying she is not a good friend and that she doesn't have a mind of her own. And then they switch between Sanya and her mom and Drew, who shows up at Marlo's house, and they kind of put together the discussions that each of them have, if that makes sense. So they bridge it together or mix them together. And basically Drew shows up, and Marlo low-key shades, I think, Drew by saying, drop it by Drew, and she opened the door, and Drew brings in all the information. Marlo tells Drew that she doesn't believe that Kenya is sick. She also mentioned that Kenya went to Sanya's photo shoot, and Drew's like, well, were you invited? And Marlo was like, no, I wasn't invited. So Marlo basically says that Sanya probably invited Candy and Kenya because they have a lot of followers. And then, of course, production is shady, and they show like how many followers each housewife has. And, Candy was like, I think it was Candy who was like way through the roof. They cut back to Sanya and her mom, and Sanya reads a text from Drew. Drew responded to Sanya's invite to this Jamaican cook-off, and Drew basically says she's not coming, especially because of what happened today. They cut back, and Drew talks about how she was invited to the photo shoot and then uninvited, and but how can you uninvite me to this photo shoot and then invite you to your dinner? So they kind of went back and forth with that. And then they switch back to Sanya and her mom. And Sanya's mom is basically like, they don't want none of this. She's like, they don't want none of this. So I could tell Sanya's mom don't be playing. Then we move to Sheree at her house, just chilling in her PJs, eating chips. And then she goes through this thing about, which I agree with her though. She talks about these chips that she loves that are supposed to be thick in sea salt. And I think I know what chips she likes because I like the thick chips too. But it was funny how she was just talking about the chips. As she's eating that, Marlo FaceTimes her and tells her to get in the car that's waiting for her outside. And so, Sheree's like, what? Well, I don't have anything to wear, blah, 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 so on and so forth. So then you switch to where Sheree gets in the car and she's told that she needs to be blindfolded. The driver said that Marlo wants her to be blindfolded. She's kind of hemming and hawing and complaining on the way. And in the meantime, you see Marlo and Drew trying to get everything together, baking cupcakes, having food delivered. Drew's like, oh, can I get a plate? And they just show them scrambling around trying to get everything together. And then Marlo sees that Sheree is at the gate and tells Drew that she needs to leave out the back door and that she ain't got time to fix a plate, which I thought was funny. So Marlo meets Sheree at the car, and then they, right before they enter her house, she says she has them go through that little face-off they had 10 years ago. And they were like, oh, I don't know if you guys remember that when they were going back and forth, and production shows that flashback, which I thought was really funny. And then, Sheree has fun going through the Fendi stuff. And then at the end, she's like, I thought she was going to at least gift me something, which I thought was funny. Then they moved to the kitchen. Marlo fixed Sheree a plate. Then Marlo talks to Sheree seriously about Tyrone. Like, how are you feeling? Basically how she didn't like seeing her sad, really telling her, you need to ditch him because he ain't no good. You see how he treated you. And was asking her, how would you feel if your daughters had that situation? That's basically what she was asking. And Sheree was like, wow, they probably don't understand why I am putting up with this. But Sheree did say that no one's ever done anything like this, meaning this cheer up session or event that they had, and that she really appreciates it. Marlo proceeds to tell her that Kenya was supposed to be here, but Kenya went to that photo shoot, and then she's not feeling well, but she feels like she doesn't believe that Kenya is sick because her face was beat. And let me pull back a little bit. So I know Marlo was still talking to Sheree about oh boy and wanted to know where her headspace was. And Sheree was basically saying she's hurt, but she's not sure she's ready to give it up. And Marlo was like, you need to block his number, which I agree. And then they lighten up the mood by going to the toward where the massage therapist was, and joke about the massage therapist can take each of their foot and massage it, which I thought was silly. Then we move on to Sanya's event. Everyone starts showing up, hugs, ooh, yeah, pleasantries and all that. And Kenya shows up, and Kenya says that she's still sick. She tells this to Sanya that she's still sick, but she wanted to show up for her. And then Sheree says in her confessional, well, I'm glad Sheree can show it up for somebody. So apparently she's still salty. Sea salty. I guess that's why they named this episode that. That Kenya didn't show up for the Cheer Up event. Let's see. Candy shows up with Mama Joyce. The moms kind of have a bonding moment. Sonia gives everyone a cook-off apron, and then they start cooking. Kenya's kind of coughing off to the to the side, and everybody's like, ugh, especially Candy. Candy's like, I ain't trying to be sick. And Marlo was still kind of shading, questioning whether or not Kenya was still sick. Let's see. They bring up the Tyrone situation, and Sheree calls out Candy for not reaching out to her about that situation. And Candy was like, I was waiting on you to talk about it. And then she says, well, Drew was there for me. And she goes on about why you weren't there for me. And then Sheree calls out Kenya and was like, well, you weren't there for me. And then Kenya's like, I was sick. My doctors told me to take a test and make sure I was ill. I mean, why are you mad at me for not? Are you mad at me because I didn't want you guys to get sick? Which is accurate. Like, the hell? I don't know why Marlo and Sheree are being really hard on Candy, and now Kenya. And Kenya, usually she's the shit starter, but she wasn't starting anything. And I really think she's sincere about her, not feeling well. I don't know why they keep doing that. So eventually Mama Joyce tries to break up the discussion, which I thought she did that. But then she also piggybacked on Sheree, on what Marlo was saying to Sheree, that you need to block dude's number and you need to keep it blocked. Sheree brings up Sanya's Photoshop and asked her who all was invited. And Sanya goes, Candy and Kenya. And then Marlo was like, oh, so you didn't want to invite us. And then Sanya's like, it wasn't on purpose. That was, I wasn't purposely not inviting you guys. But she really didn't give an explanation as to why she invited those two. Let's see. And then Marlo was kind of questioning, how did Sanya and Candy connect so quickly? Because it's hard to get to know Candy, is basically what she was saying. Marlo and Sheree then steps away, and then they starting some mess, talking stuff about Sanya, saying that she's kissing Candy in Kenya's butt. I think she also brings up the whole follower thing, so that her blog can take off, which I thought wasn't cool. And then she starts going in on Candy, talking about Candy don't care about nobody but herself, and was basically saying she was a hoe back in the day, and then the gardening tool. And then they started saying the same thing about Kenya was a video hoe, which I don't remember her being in videos that much, but maybe she was. But she was also an actress. She was Miss USA. Just let it go. So I don't understand why they being so hard. And then Sheree's just sitting there co-signing. Like, it was just kind of strange to me that all of a sudden they going hard on Candy and Kenya. And it's interesting because I think it was Carlos King's show, some other interview that Marlo did, where she was going in on Candy, saying that Candy doesn't do anything for the community and all that stuff. And that she's making Candy earn her paycheck this season. And Candy's response was like, she called her a fake ass bee and all sorts of stuff. So Candy wasn't having all that mess that Marlo was talking, but that was like outside of the season. Then Marlo and Sheree joins the group, and as they're walking in, Sheree says she wishes that Drew were there. And then the production shows someone walking up, and it's Drew. She shows up after all, and everyone's like, oh, Drew is here. And they kind of looking at it, and she's like, hi. And that's basically how the episode ended. I'd like to know in your comments what you thought about this episode. Do you understand why Marlo's getting at Kenya and Candy as bad as she is? I'm still puzzled about that. I'm I don't know. It just seems like it's coming out of nowhere. And Sheree co-signing like that. And the way Sheree is just kind of flipping on Kenya that quick, because it seemed like earlier in the season they were getting together. But thank you for watching this recap. Please make sure that you subscribe to my channel, help a sister out, share, like, and subscribe. Again, I can't stress that enough. So until next time, people, peace.